Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Iron Samurai. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video, we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment, and everything else. So let's get right into it. What this character is going to be about is we are playing pretty much a relatively standard power armor melee character with not really a big twist, to be honest. Basically, the more interesting thing I did here is I was trying to focus a little bit on sprinting a lot, therefore doing opening battles with power attacks. And in addition to that, we also have the Pain Train perk, so that we can actually damage enemies with our power armor, as you can see here. And if you just align it right, you can really consistently integrate this part of damage into your attack as well. So you can combine both the Pain Train perk and your power attacks, which means that oftentimes you can one hit kill enemies that you otherwise couldn't. Now, the reason this is necessary, or not really necessary, but a big help, is the fact that we are using the shishkebab, which is a weapon I haven't shown off on this channel before, I think. Pretty sure not a single time, to be honest. And yeah, it's a shame because it really, for me, it is a staple of the franchise. Really iconic weapon, just because it fits this whole Fallout universe so well. Just a rusty old katana, which is modified to have flames on it and everything. In terms of style, it really is a cool choice. I mean, you can't deny that. But in terms of effectiveness, yeah, in Fallout 76, it's kind of lacking behind. Like, the standard problem is that melee in and of itself isn't the best choice nowadays. It feels kind of underpowered. So what I mean by that is, yeah, melee is very good for day-to-day farming still. Like, as you can see here, ghouls and super mutants and everything you basically encounter on a daily basis, you will have an easy time killing off. Really, where melee starts to fall a bit flat is once it comes to high tier enemies, and that's just because they have too little base damage, basically. So yeah, ever since the damage model has changed from multiplicative to additive, melee weapons can't really hold up with doing massive amounts of crits on automatic rifles or just pumping out thousands of shots from heavy weapons. But yeah, anyways. The weapon we are using here today is a vampire swing speed version, so one thing is sure, despite everything I just said, there could be improvement just in a way that we could use some kind of prefix that gives us extra damage, like aristocrats, anti-armor. I mean, anti-armor wouldn't give us extra damage, obviously, but just overall more damage output. Junkies, bloodied, very obviously. However, people tend to not use bloody melee on power armor characters for the simple reason that the most beneficial thing about a bloodied melee character is the strength bonus from unyielding gear. So, yeah, would be a totally different build here. And as always, we're not showing off bloodied builds here just because there are some really good channels who focus on that. Think about Oxy, think about Tier. They're just very good channels. And another interesting thing I just wanted to bake in here, not for a particular reason, but just because I could, is I actually found a excavator jetpack, a excavator torso with a jetpack in a player vendor for relatively cheap, and yeah, so you can have jetpacks on excavator power armor nowadays. I'm not quite sure if it's still possible, but basically what you want to do is you want to get the jetpack modification for, how's it called? The Bulletstorm? No. What? Like the new power armor that was introduced with the Steel Rain update. Yeah. Hellstorm, sorry. The Hellstorm power armor, pretty sure that's it. And yeah, if you have the jetpack modification for that, you can actually put a jetpack on your excavator power armor as well, which was previously impossible. So yeah, just a little fun bit of trivia here. By the way, I think I'm not going to bother with the Scorch Beast here. As you can see there, firstly, yeah, it is a 2-star, so it would take quite a while to take it down. Wouldn't be a hard battle, to be honest. Like the Scorch Beast would barely be able to damage us. Um, not closely to out damage our healing from the sword. The problem is, yeah, we have to wait for it to land, and we were most likely not able to kill it off in one go once it lands, so we would have to fight that thing for like 10 minutes, maybe, depending on how fast it lands. Yeah, so, yeah, sorry for that. No Scorched Beast kill on this occasion. Wouldn't be the most pleasant thing to watch for you. But yeah, let's move on here. Another thing I really wanted to do ever since it came out or was available to me is from last season's um, rewards, we do have the Samurai Power Armor skins, which I really like despite them being very Loran friendly, but we are all over that point at this time. The only thing I did not really enjoy too much was the arms, the arm pieces. I mean, they do look interesting, but they were too bulky in my opinion. And what I did is I was using Bone Rider armor. So I think that really works together very well. And overall, the aesthetic of the build is very cool. So I really like that one. And yeah, one other thing we can touch upon here during the video is how this build is relatively tanky. I mean, it's not only relatively tanky, but very tanky, to be honest. We do render a good amount of enemies rather useless just by the fact that, okay, that was a bit stupid, just by the fact that we do have electric absorption, meaning every enemy with energy attacks is basically worthless against us. They, on multiple occasions, even heal us. Similar to that, we do have a thing going on where ranged enemies with fast-firing weapons often heal us rather than damaging us by using Ricochet and the Vampire's weapon. So every time Ricochet activates, it carries the Vampire's effect, so you do get a little bit of healing. And basically, fast-firing enemies oftentimes do less damage to us than we will get back from healing. So that's a nice thing, and yeah. Overall, we are pretty tanky. I haven't died a single time with this build, I'm pretty sure. So while it may on certain occasions be a bit underpowered in terms of damage output, it's still a very good build for the simple reason that, yeah, you can't really go wrong here. The worst thing that can happen is that fights take a while. You're a melee build, so you won't waste bullets in the meantime, meaning that, yeah, you can basically just out-tank every single enemy in the game. And another thing here is I was trying to get quite a few pieces with powered gear on my excavator armor, so we can use a lot of power attacks. In addition to that, we do have optimized bracers, so we do use less AP for power attacks, and that's basically the whole premise in order to fight tougher targets. Doing as much power attacks as possible in short succession. So yeah, that's our kind of go-to approach when it comes to enemies. Like, we do use power attacks all of the time just by sprinting into enemies, and when we sprint and do an attack, it's automatically a power attack. But yeah, we want to do that, as I said, in rapid succession anyways. But as you can see here, once everything is coming together, even though the shishkebab isn't the best weapon in the world, you can still do relatively great. Now, here we took like 4 hits or something, but keep in mind, there wasn't a single power attack really. So opening up and following with a power attack, we can nearly finish the enemy. And after all, as I said, it doesn't really matter because, yeah, time isn't really a factor here since we're not losing health over time really. We can just heal that back. Now, one thing I often see is that people just say, hey, just get a Vampire's melee weapon and you're basically immortal. It highly depends on your build, to be honest. You can't really say that like that. If you have a relatively flimsy build, a Vampire's melee weapon will not be enough to keep you alive all the time, just because melee isn't the best build to make use out of the vampire's effect. Even the fast melee weapons can't really keep up with the amount of attacks you get in from a automatic rifle or heavy weapon. And in addition to that, yeah, you don't have stuff like two-shot or explosive, which make it, or beam splitters, which make it that you get more healing from a single hit, or from a single shot rather. So yeah, melee isn't the best in order to use the vampire's effect. You really have to have a good amount of tankiness to begin with in order to make yourself pretty much immortal with a vampire's weapon. Don't get me wrong, it's always a help, but yeah. When it comes to the shishkebab, we are in the medium class, by the way, in terms of swing speed, so we can swing rather fast, but still do quite a bit more damage than a combat knife would do, for example. So yeah. Another nice thing that you can do is do some kind of trick shots. I mean, it's not trick shots because you're obviously not shooting anything, but using the... This could be interesting here. Is it a colored one? No. Using the jetpack in order to get a flying approach on an enemy and dropping down on them with a power attack. If you time it right, this can be really satisfying if you finish off an enemy like that. Certainly makes me wish that the explosive vents would be a thing like they were in Fallout 4, but I mean, they were in Fallout 76 as well, they just didn't work, and so they are now the cooling vents. Let's see if we can get this guy here. Okay, he was a little bit too fast on the move here, but yeah, I think you get the point. It looks a bit ridiculous to watch probably, but trust me, especially in first person, it can be a ton of fun to do something like that. And yeah, let's move on. Let's kill the Deathclaw. Now, when it comes to the Deathclaw, my guess is it will just stagger us a little bit, but still, the fight won't be too hard. Now, we can gather some adrenaline just by walking over these guys. They do count as kills, and therefore we do get adrenaline from it. And as you can see there, we want to do power attacks again. I mean, the last one is probably not even necessary, but yeah. Pretty easy there. Ended the fight with full health. Just took us like... I mean, it took us like 7 or 8 swings, but it wasn't all actually just 4 hits or so. Making an entry, but it just wasn't quite enough to do what I was talking about earlier. So sadly, I guess you won't see that kind of kill during the video. But anyways, let's get up there. Now, one thing to say is that obviously you could bake in Power User into your perk loadout. I mean, we haven't looked at it now, but just a little spoiler alert, I don't use Power User. Depending on how much you want to use your jetpack or how hard a time you have in keeping up with fusion cores, I will say that when we come to it, but Power User would be a good perk choice. I personally found that it was okay here. I just rarely depleted my core, and especially on these occasions here, these guys with energy weapons will refill my core anyway, so yeah, I didn't feel like I needed it too much. Another thing I would really advise you to do is, if you are in first person, in third person I found that it was just not reliable enough to redo. But if you're in first person, try to go for the head. Sounds simple, but really with these fast swinging weapons, you can definitely do it a little better in my opinion. You gotta learn the way power attacks work. Like if you're sprinting, you do a sidewards slice, so to say, and in first person you come from above. So that's kind of important to know when you want to get a headshot in, not headshot, head hit. Is it a head hit? Anyways, but as a sorter, I think even though the shish kebab is often said to be underpowered, it's not that crazy, and I was actually surprised by how effective it was against tougher targets as well. Obviously not comparable to a stealth commander or something, but still I found that it was quite useful. And yeah, that was it in terms of gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it so far. Really, for me, the favorite thing about this build is the looks and the feel of it, making this really samurai build. But yeah, let's get now into the details and take a look at the mutations first. So they are here. We do have Bird Bones, Carnivore, Chameleon, Healing Factor, Marsupial, Scaly Skin, Speed Demon, and Talons. Bird Bones might not want to pick it, but I did just because it reduces the amount of time we do get into the staggering animation from using our power armor. So basically, if you have the marsupial mutation, which you will have, if you do a jump, there's a good chance that when you're landing, you will get into this power armor animation, and that just takes time away. So we do have -1 strength, which means a little bit less damage with our melee weapon, but really negligible in my opinion. Then we do have carnivore. Simple reason here: meat-based food is often the best thing you can use in order to buff your melee attacks. I didn't do any of that during the video, as I rarely do, just because I want to show how effective the build is at base value. But yeah, carnivore is here, so you can use Deathclaw steaks, Yaoguai roast, and so on. Very easy to obtain ones. Mutant hound chops. So yeah, do whatever you like here. Then we do have Chameleon, which is just a leftover from another build, and neither has a benefit nor a negative or downside to us, so it's just left in there, but it's basically a blind spot, so yeah, you don't utilize it in any way. Then we do have Healing Factor, which makes it so our chems are a little less effective, but we don't really use them too much. So really what we are looking for is the health regen, meaning that outside of combat, we regenerate our health back to 100%. Very fast, I might add. And this just further doubles down on us not using any stim packs due to the fact that we are pretty tanky. We do have a vampire's weapon, so we pretty much never need to use a stim pack. And yeah, this just improves on that. Then we do have Marsupial, which is pretty straightforward. Jump height, always nice. Bit more carry weight, it might be a little overkill on this occasion, but yeah, the extra jump height is the thing we want to have. Also synergizes very well with the jetpack because after you're jumping on the high point, you start your jetpack and you already have a higher altitude, so you can overall cover greater distances. Then we do have Scaly Skin, few less AP, but really it's the equivalent of 1.2 points of agility, pretty sure at least. So the downside is really negligible, and we do get a little better resistances, which might seem a little overkill, but keep in mind we do have excavator armor on, and yeah, without scaly skin, we are barely scratching the point of diminishing returns. So we actually still get a pretty good benefit out of scaly skin here. Then we do have Speed Demon. Pretty straightforward, faster movement speed. I mean, we don't utilize the reload speed on this occasion, but the movement speed is actually pretty nice all of the time. It's always on every single build of mine, but especially on this one, I would not want to live without it. And then we come to another one that's basically blind for us. Talons, 25% unarmed damage and bleed damage for unarmed weapons at the cost of 1 agility. This is a debuff I just took because, yeah, I had the mutation on this build already, and I didn't want to gamble removing them. I don't have the mutation serums on this occasion to regain all of the other mutations. And yeah, Talons doesn't do anything to us, but reducing our agility for 1, but I kind of had to live with that. But yeah, that means we're last with the last one. Twisted Muscles, 25 extra melee damage, very obviously a benefit to us. Chance to cripple, which actually works rather well since we do get a lot of hits in if we want to. And lastly, gun accuracy -12%. So due to class 3, gets reduced quite a good bit, but still, we're not using any guns at all, so this debuff basically doesn't concern us at all. That leaves us with our equipment, and first of all, here it is, the Vampire Swing Speed Shishkebab. Obviously, extra strength would be nice, but other than that, not really anything. Maybe 40% less damage while power attacking could actually be relatively nice. And yeah, we do have the extra flame jets, obviously, for more burning damage, but that's about it. In terms of condition, this weapon is great. I mean, we should keep in mind that I do have makeshift warrior on at the moment, so with it usually degrades quite a bit faster, but still the duration, the condition on this weapon seemed to hold great. And in terms of our power armor, We do have a mixed match set here. We do have Autostim, AP Refresh Cavalier. Then we do have another Mutants piece with AP Refresh Cavalier. I think we have another one here too. Um, Mutants Endurance Cavalier. Targeting helmet. Maybe you saw that during the video. We do have the targeting HUD on. Then we do have a Troubleshooters AP Refresh Cavalier piece and a Zealots AP Refresh Cavalier piece. So overall, yeah, we do have a lot of AP Refresh and a full set of Cavalier, which means that when we're sprinting up to an enemy, when we are the least vulnerable. So we pretty much enter combat with 100% health most of the time. And since we're trying to sprint around a lot, this helps out a lot. And that leaves us with our perks. 15 strength should be no surprise to anyone. We do have 2 of each gladiator perk card, which means we do have the room for pain train. Talked about it during the video. Sprinting into enemies when wearing power armor can damage them. I think it's enough to kill level 60 super mutants, level 60 ghouls in a single hit. So it's actually quite powerful. A lot of people don't really know about it and tend to believe that it's trash, but it actually can do a lot. And as I said, combining a sprinting attack from a melee weapon with pain train is actually something, after a little bit of practice, you can do very consistently, and it adds a lot of initial punch, let's say like that. And lastly, we do have Incisor here and Martial Artist, the most important perks when it comes to melee, in my opinion. 75% armor penetration is great, and swing speed obviously is the thing you want to have. Then, in terms of perception, there's really nothing we needed here, so I went with rank 1 and picked a Graphist, just giving us a little directional clue when in range of a magazine. Let's just say our guy is a manga fan or something like that. Do whatever you like here. Then we do have Endurance at 10. I wanted to have it a little bit higher, as you can probably imagine. Fireproof, always a good pick. Life Giver, I always use it when I don't know what else to use, just because it's plain beneficial. There's better options out there, but I still think Life Giver is a good choice. And lastly, we do have Solar Powered, giving us extra strength and endurance during the day, which is obviously very nice for a melee build, making us more tanky and letting us do a little bit more damage. Then we go on to Charisma with a combination you haven't seen in a while, but for a while I was doing it all of the time. 7 Charisma, 4 Lone Wanderer, 3 Tenderizer, multiplicative 10% damage after our first hit, which is pretty much always the case. We rarely one-shot stuff. And faster AP refresh, further doubling down on our powered pieces. And lastly, 20% less damage taken. Might work, might not. Never really tested it. Don't know really how I would. There's one occasion I saw someone saying it doesn't work, but that's the only time I heard about it. So yeah. Going over to intelligence, and this is where I would do things a little bit differently if I had more time, but I don't really do. So I think yeah, I wanted to make the video anyways because I didn't really think that it would make too much of a difference during the video. So what I would do usually is I would go for a combination of power user and batteries included, just so we can carry a ton of fusion cores and they last us longer, so we can really make more use out of the jetpack. But I think you get the point. It wasn't really necessary during this video because you wouldn't have seen any difference really in gameplay. For now, I do have Makeshift Warrior, which makes it so our weapon lasts very long. I just never repaired it in, I think, about 20 hours of gameplay with this build. So, yeah. And Scrapper is just there to fill in the gap. Then we do have Agility at 8, which is rather low since we ideally would like to have way more action points to use for power attacks and the jetpack. But I just needed to find a little bit of a sweet spot where I didn't want to miss out on other points, perk points, outerwear. So yeah, Action Boy it is for fast AP refresh, further doubling down on Lone Wanderer and our power pieces, and Adrenaline, very straightforward, extra damage in a lot of situations. And yeah, back to the topic. As you saw earlier, while we can't use our jetpack for ever, still it's more than enough to use for quite a good bit of time. And that leaves us with luck. Bloody Mess here, just a little extra damage. Doesn't do a whole lot here, but still every bit counts. Then we do have Ricochet. I talked about it during the video. We were making use out of the synergy between Ricochet and Vampire's weapons, meaning that if Ricochet activates, I mean, first and foremost, it just makes us more tanky because we get less damage. And furthermore, if it is activated, we actually get a little bit of healing from our Vampire's weapon, which is crazy. And lastly, Class Freak. You saw it, there were quite a few mutations, quite a few debuffs, so we just reduced them and starched genes, so we do keep our mutations and not get any new ones that we don't want to have. And that leaves us with legendary perks, and I really tried to not use too many special stats for once. So the only ones we're boosting here are agility and strength. Both are at 15 base, so we just get a little bit more of the passive bonuses, like a bit of extra damage from strength, and a bit more action points to use in for our jetpack. Sorry, I did say something wrong. Legendary agility obviously is not base 15, as we just discussed. This helps us to get a little bit more action points and perks. And that leaves us with these here perks. We do have Electric Absorption, very powerful for pretty much every single power armor character, rendering energy damage enemies pretty much useless. Then we do have Power Sprinter, which since I am on a custom world, I really pumped a few points into it, which I usually don't, just to see how beneficial it gets. And yeah, 40% fewer action points for sprinting and power armor is very nice and synergizes very well with our build here. Remember the Cavalier's gear, making it so that when sprinting we take less damage overall, and we can start off with we can start off fights with power attacks. So yeah, that's here. Then we do have What Rats. The excavator suit isn't exactly the best when it comes to radiation resistance, so What Rats might not seem a bit over the top, but think about nuke zones and so on. What Rats isn't unnecessary. And lastly, we do have collateral damage, making it so we have a chance to make enemies explode when we kill them. Hardly the best perk in the world, but it's nice to have, I think. And yeah, that was it. Let's take a look at our thumbnail now, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Taking a look at the photo gallery. There it is. This was the Iron Samurai, and yeah, I'm sorry by the way. This week is a bit low on content. It's just this video. Maybe over the weekend I will make another one, but I actually had two other builds planned, which I then scrapped last minute just because I wasn't really satisfied with the outcome, and yeah, that's why you only see this one this week. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye.